It's the week of the big game. Super Bowl Sunday is right around the corner, and we are so sad here at the Rushmore Show that we don't know what we're going to do for the next 6 months. So we've decided to do the Rushmore of football movies. Stay to the end so you can see a twist on one of our favorite segments, Who's Your George?
All right, guys, welcome to the Rushmore Show, where it's all about your top four and nothing more. Hey, it's Super Bowl week. This is just like the mecca for football fans. So many awesome things, but there's been crazy things outside of just the Super Bowl that's been happening recently in the NFL. Kirk, what's been happening? Nothing too crazy, right?
Yeah, man, our beloved Who Dat Nation lost their leader. We lost Breeze last year. We lose Peyton this year. Man, it's getting tough over here in New Orleans. So, yeah.
It's difficult. You look on top of that, we've got two all-star, absolute Hall of Fame quarterbacks, Ben Roethlisberger and Tom Brady, both announcing their retirement. One of them we were pretty sure was going to be happening. One of them, it's been 22 years, but, he could have been playing until he was 50. So we've got that happening. We've just got so many crazy things happening. We got the Bengals making the Super Bowl for the first time since I wasn't even born the last time that they were in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, man, I read a thing saying it's the first time that a Bengals fan can text another one saying the Bengals are in the Super Bowl.
Wow.
And that's crazy.
Yeah, that is just a mind-blowing stat. So we've got all of those crazy things happening. You couple that with the Pro Bowl that's been happening, and you've got Super Bowl coming up this weekend. And, man, it's just a great time. We're living it up for one more week until it's the dry season for football. But, hey, look, today what we're going to do, we're going to unveil our Rushmore of football movies.
So let's go.
We're going to do things a little bit different. We're not going to go traditional, football stats and players and things, but we're going to tell you about our favorite football movies. You excited for this episode, Kirk?
Dude, I am so excited. I love movies. I love football. I'm getting my wings ready. I'm ready to get down. Let's go.
So how did we come up with the idea to do our Rushmore of football movies? Well, obviously, hey, this week is a big week for football. If you're an NFL fan,
Super Bowl, baby.
If you're a Super Bowl, if you're just an NFL fan, a football fan, a sports fan, or you just like watching good TV, this is Super Bowl week. This is what it all comes down to if you're that football fan. And we've got a week leading up to it. So we decided, look, there's so many things that we can talk about that's related to football that we can come up with Rushmores based on. In fact, when we first, Kirk started talking about Rushmores, this really was inspired from when you read sports writers who give you their Rushmore of quarterbacks, of NFL teams, players from specific NFL teams, coaches, you name it. Some sports writer out there is getting paid to comeback,
right? Hashtag 28-3.
Yeah, well, we know that is the George of all comebacks, easily is the 28-3, but we wanted to make it a little bit more exciting. We could have come up with so many different ones, right? We could have said, look, when you think of Super Bowl, a lot of times what I think about, big fan of food. So I think about tailgate snacks, right? Wings, nachos, you got all of these things that are just classic football. But no, we decided not to go with that, right?
Could have done commercials.
We could have done commercials.
Halftime shows. I mean, or obviously any of the accolades that happen actually on the field.
Yeah, so you could have come up with the quarterbacks, the things that you could see on Sports Illustrated or any kind of sports writing. But we wanted to be a little bit different. If you guys have been watching us long enough, we like to be a little bit different than the normal. And so what we decided, we're going to combine two things that we really enjoy into one and make a Rushmore out of it. So we're going to take movies and football and fuse them together. And we're going to give you, just like we said before, our Rushmore of football movies. So it's going to be a good one, Kirk. Are you excited for this one?
Dude, it is a really tough one, as always, but I really feel like this one we need extra lists, maybe extra mountains. We need some Benjamins. We need to add some other presidents because there were a lot of really good movies to be eliminated. And I honestly could probably take all four that I'm putting on and replace all four of them with another four. All right, Andy, this is the moment of truth. All we want to know is your Rushmore of football movies. So, who is your Rosie of football movies?
So my Rosie of football movies. Again, we said this before. This was tough. I went way back and forth on my four spot, really on all of my spots here, except for number one. But my number four, my Rosie of football movies, is The Replacements. I love The Replacements. So take you back to a time in my life and probably many of your lives. We can throw it back to the old Blockbuster. I remember going to Blockbuster, and I remember that The Replacements was a movie that my family and I rented on multiple occasions. I realized saying renting movies from a building is going to date us pretty far back. We would rent Replacements multiple times. In fact, there's a funny story. I was sharing it with you earlier. Wasn't sure if I was going to share it or not, but it's funny. Nobody will laugh at it. Maybe you will. But I remember when we got The Replacements, the guy at the store, I guess, working at a video store, didn't really keep up with contemporary movies or whatever. And he mispronounced it, I guess, when he was checking us out, and he called it The Replacements. And since that time,
Blackman's Parish.
Blackman's Parish, yeah. Since that time, my family just pronounces that. But anyway, more about the movie. I mean, I don't need to explain the whole concept, but it's around the NFL strike and these kind of replacement players coming in and stepping in and being expected to win in the most crucial of games. And you got Keanu Reeves in it, a big Keanu
Who
Reeves
loves to play the quarterback, right?
Shane Falco.
Point Break.
Shane Falco. Also, Joe Flacco, I used to always call Falco in reference to that. One of my favorite quotes is Shane Falco, is Keanu Reeves. He says,
"Pain heals. Chicks dig scars. Glory lasts forever."
My Rosie, like I said, my number four is The Replacement. So let's go ahead and get to your Rosie. Let's get to your Rosie, Kirk. Who is your number four? What is your number four of football movies?
Right off the bat, my Rosie is going to be a Louisiana favorite. Kind of makes fun of us a little bit and ridiculously, but I'm going to go with one of the Adam Sandler great movies, Waterboy.
Ooh, I'm a football player.
Coach, I'd like to tackle him right now, please.
Not yet.
I absolutely love this movie. It was really early on in Adam Sandler's kind of start. He had just a few movies under his belt. This movie actually, from what I understand, came from an SNL skit from Canteen Boy. But if you know anything about the movie, there's so many quotes. The water sucks.
Water sucks. It really, really sucks. Water sucks.
And you can do it.
You can do it.
And some of them that I can't say on here, but it's a great movie. I learned what an Abdullah Oblongata was.
A medulla oblongata.
From this movie, but the movie's basically, most of us have seen it. The movie's basically, he's the water boy because his dad died in the Sahara Desert. He died from dehydration, so he wants to be the water boy. Somebody ticks him off, and he lays a hit on him, and the coach sees it, and all of a sudden, the water boy, who is a little mentally challenged, played by Adam, becomes one of the greatest football players in Louisiana history. It's just a great movie. It's very quotable. It's hilarious. And it's one of those that I will always go back to and watch. So I'm going to go with Waterboy as my Rosie.
Wow, that's fantastic. I love the Water Boy too. So let's move to TJ Jazzy Jeff. Staying with the Adam Sandler theme, but going a little bit different place than you did with yours. I'm gonna pick The Longest Yard.
Who we gonna crush? The gods! Who we gonna kill? The gods! Who we gonna kiss? The gods! Gotcha.
The Longest Yard, you know, we know that it's there's a classic Longest Yard, Burt Reynolds, and just one of those classic movies, right? But for me personally, remember, Rushmores are about your top 4 and nothing more. It's not about the critics or Rotten Tomatoes or you know whatever, whoever's going to say these things. It's not about all of that. It's about your personal Rushmore. And with that in mind, I went with the Longest Yard, the Adam Sandler version. When I was, for a little while, just giving you a little backstory, I did a little bit of coaching of football for the junior high that I was working at for a while, so 7th and 8th graders. And I can't tell you how many times I used you teach me to football? I'll teach you anything as long as you don't eat me.
Will you teach me to football?
Sure, we'll teach you to football, won't we, caretaker?
Hey, I'll teach you anything. Just don't eat me.
And there's the quote when they put up the sign for the tryouts: football tryouts.
Football tryouts.
The movie from the beginning until the end, it's hilarious. So hey, we've had a run of Adam Sandler so far. Let's see, are we going to break that tradition right here with your TJ? What you got?
So again, as I'm thinking through my favorite movies or movies that I want to watch, there's multiple things that I put in there. Quotability is one, as we've always said, but another one to me is nostalgia factor. One that I've watched and I've seen at a specific time in my life, 1993 is when this movie came out. It's called The Program.
Jefferson, are you injured or are you hurt?
What's that mean?
Well, if you're hurt, you can still play. If you're injured, you can't. So are you hurt or are you injured?
I think I'm just hurt.
That's good. And get up.
So The Program, if depending on what age you're in, I was just kind of chatting with Thomas earlier. He didn't really know it, and I was like, "Man, you've got to see this movie." It was led by James Caan. He was the coach, but Halle Berry and Omar Epps were in it. Omar was the star running back. Halle Berry was his girlfriend. Christy Swanson was in it. It's several other guys that you'd probably know from film. But the big part about this movie was some of the underlying themes that were going. So the movie was a Division I. It was a false school as well. It was Eastern State University Timberwolves. And it was it wasn't a school that really existed, but they're on a streak of really bad football. Their star sophomore quarterback is coming back. He's in the run for the Heisman. That was Joe Kane. He's from a alcoholic family, right? And so there's that theme kind of going on, and he doesn't want to go home, and he's dating Christy Swanson, and it kind of has that old Top Gun feel, you know. But he's the guy that's going to bring them to victory, right? And they ended up qualifying for a major bowl, and in the movie, the linebacker was just on special teams, like his first 3 years. He's a senior. And he takes steroids, and I remember it very evident. I really didn't know what that whole scene was about. I was probably about 15 or so when this movie came out, but just understanding how that happens. And I remember the guy having to take a urine test to get tested, because all of a sudden he comes back 35 pounds heavier, super strong. He bust his head through the window. When he made the first team, because he hadn't made first team. Long story short, you get to see him take urine out of a vial in the bathroom and kind of pour that and get tested. So that was one of those things that was kind of freaky. The big one that was freaky, and I think it was actually removed from the movie when it came out to DVD or even probably VHS back then, was there was a scene in the movie where the coach made his athletes lay down in the middle of the highway or the middle of the street, and cars were going back both ways. And it was to give them this sense of fear so they would live with no fear. And then there was a coach apparently that thought it was a great idea, a high school coach or something like that, and let his students do it. And I remember the kind of urban legend about it was some coaches did it, or one coach did it, and it ended up hurting some of the students. It's just a great movie, and it's one of my favorites. If you haven't seen it, you need to. But yeah, it's one of those nostalgic ones for me. My TJ Jesse Jeff will be The Program.
That's good. That's good. Hey, so you mentioned before Thomas didn't know that movie. That's another movie that I honestly haven't watched. And just
great movie, man.
To let all of you guys know this, let you in on this. Kirk knows this. We've had this discussion. I am honestly not a very big movie fan. And here's what I'll say. Not that I don't like movies. I just don't go see every new movie. But however, what I do is I get stuck on movies and I will watch them 27 times. You know what I mean? And,
which is not me. I want to see a new movie often. So whenever there is a movie that I want to rewatch, I have to put it up there. And I've watched this movie so many times. I mean, it's it's why it's up there. There are so many other movies I could have put, but that's one of the things that flipped it for me. So, yeah.
That's good. So let's move on to Link. We are at our number two.
Number two,
Link. Our Link of football movies. And mine, look, this is going to be our first instance of what we're calling Rushmore. What Rushmore means is that we're doubling up, right? I'm saying one that Kirk has already said, or vice versa.
Doubling down.
What that just shows you is that obviously we said before, a lot of our tastes are similar. A lot of the types of movies, the types of music, the types of food, all kinds of different things. We have some similarities there, obviously some differences as well. But we've got a Rushmore right now, which means I am about to actually repeat one of the movies that Kirk has already mentioned. My Rushmore here that's happening is I am going Waterboy.
Now that's what I call high quality H2O.
Oh! Waterboy is one of my favorite movies of all time. Again, I mentioned it before. Look, let's even take football movies out of the equation. Waterboy is one of my favorite movies of all time. There's just so many quotes. Like I said, obviously for me, big thing is quotes and movies. I've mentioned it multiple times before. But I just always think of those ones like, Bobby, did they ever catch the gorilla that escaped the zoo and punched you in the eye?
No, Mama. The search continues.
I'll say that sometimes, and there's not really ever a time that I should say that, or like that fits into the conversation, other than if we're talking about Waterboy. But that movie is hilarious. Like you mentioned earlier, Kirk, there's many quotes that I'm not going to say on here. I'm obviously right here Saints fan, and if you follow the Saints or even know, like for the past several years, they've been like relevant, winning the NFC South, setting records, big winning seasons. This year, not so much. Obviously, Drew Brees retiring and everything. And I always think about the quote like, "Oh no, we suck again."
Oh no, we suck again.
Yeah. So the movie is hilarious. Obviously, we mentioned before we're both from the New Orleans area, Louisiana. So there's a lot of like things that
I have to say this. That is not how Louisiana people are.
Yeah. Look, if you're looking at this and you're saying, I don't know if I want to go to Louisiana because of that. Now, I will say this. There are certainly some that fits to a T pretty well.
You have to go pretty south. Pretty south.
Remember the time Bobby Bush went on Coach O.
But we knew we was going to win that game today. We started off Monday knowing we're going to win this game.
Congratulations, Ed.
Go Tigers.
Coach O is from Waterboy. Yeah, so Waterboy is my link, my number two. Let's move to your link, Kirk. What do you have at number two on your football movie Rushmore?
Full disclosure, most of the super awesome movies that I think would be out for many people, especially people that don't watch football, they would look for the inspiring story, right? The story that is, everything under the sun. I'm not going to name some movies, might give some away that we'll name in a little bit, but you know what I mean. The inspiring movies, there's 100 of them, right? But I figured, since I'm probably going to go with an inspiring movie for my number one, that I would go with another kind of funny movie, another one that brings nostalgia, another one that I owned when I was younger, and it's the original Replacements, right? It's the original Replacements. This movie was based off of a similar story. It's called Necessary Roughness.
The Blake man pitches to Sarge. The Sarge bumps into his own man. It's a fumble. Fumble-aya. Sarge Fumbleina Wilkerson fumbles the ball.
Necessary Roughness from, I think it's 1990, 1991. I was probably 10 or 11 when it came out. And I could tell you this, I had a huge crush on Kathy Ireland. She was in the movie as a kicker. But the movie was based off of this football team that was one of these other football teams that were made up from nowhere. It's not an official team, but this was a university. I can remember they were I think it was the East Texas Armadillos or something like that. And I know they were the Armadillos because that was one of the funny things. It was one of their funny mascots, but they had done some recruiting violations the last 2-3 years prior. So they were being suspended, and the only way they could play is if they brought in replacement players. And they had a tryout at the school for these guys to come and try out. Kathy Ireland played on the soccer team. She kicked the ball crazy good, so she made the team as the kicker. Sinbad was on the team. This has some really awesome quotes too. I can remember the guy's name was Straight Arrow Gennaro, the coach, and he didn't really mess around with any of the players. But they decided to go and get a 40-something-year-old quarterback that had one more year of eligibility. It's a great movie. When I was looking up on the top 10, I was really surprised, like what the internet says with the top 10. It was on many of the lists, and I was like, man, because when you first said this one, this is the first one that popped in my mind that I had to have. That was, not only is it funny, it has great star power. It has some really good quotes. There was some twins that were in the thing. On the team, one guy was like a karate guy, and he like beats the crap out of somebody and the ref is really going off on him and saying all these kind of penalties.
Illegal contact, number 51, Zinkutsu elbow thrust to the up back, Orimawatsu roundhouse lunge kick to the quarterback, Takatami Answer block to the, shoot, never mind, 15 yards. First down. It's just a funny movie. It's one of those nostalgia ones, and it's another that, regardless of the time, I will watch it over and over again. Some of these movies that are really, really good, I just wouldn't watch them again. I would want to watch something else. So my link is going to be one that might not make other people's lists, but it is definitely one of my favorite movies of all time. Necessary Roughness.
So we're going to move now to our number one spot. This is our George, our G-Dub, and my number one, hands down, has got to be Remember the Titans.
Let me ask you something, Mr. Campbell. What kind of power you got? Oh, man, you know I got some soul power. What kind of power you got? What kind of question is that? I got soul power.
Remember the Titans is fantastic. It's probably my only movie in here that I would classify as an inspirational movie. And, you talk about the racism and segregation of the schools and kind of what that looked like at the beginning, and obviously bringing in an African-American coach.
One of the best actors ever. Rushmore there too.
Denzel is great. And so that movie from right there is just so classic. There's so many lines in that movie that, it makes me tear up every time I watch it. When you get to the end, I don't want to spoil alert. this movie, but if it's a spoiler at this point, you should have watched it by now. It's been out for a long time. But at the end, when there's the accident, and then you kind of see how everything plays out at the end, it's one of those tearjerker moments there. It's really cool to see how the chemistry is formed on the team, right? How there's a lot of infighting within the team, but there's also fighting between the team and the community, and just all of these. It's difficult, and seeing a coach be able to hold it all together, Denzel and his assistant coach as well, to be able to hold it all together. It's so good. One of my favorite scenes in the movie kind of goes. Many people know it if you've seen it, but when the African-American players walking down the street and he's walking to his friend's house and a cop stops right in front of him, you could just see the nerves on his face, and the cop rolls down the window and he says,
"Heck of a game you boys played last night." Thank you.
It's just cool to see kind of how the mentality of the community is changing, and they're rallying around this team who's going undefeated, who's going to the championship, who's just dominating out there. And it all culminates there in the end where, the assistant coach he says,
"You make sure they remember forever the night they played the Titans."
And it's just, man, it's so good. There's some funny parts in it too. Obviously, the everywhere we go,
People want to know who we are, so we tell them, we are the Titans, mighty Titans.
Man, I could go on forever talking about this. The actors in the movie, you've got a little mix of comedy to break up some of the seriousness of it. But Remember the Titans, inspirational. It's one of the movies that I will watch continuously. If it comes on TV, we're stopping what we're doing and I'm watching it. I love Remember the Titans.
My George is also Remember the Titans. And I think I was actually shocked when I looked up the list of just the kind of every time we do these, we do like some research. We start looking for things. Also, there's ones that already are your favorite, but it's like, gosh, like I was just sitting there thinking of movies while you were talking, like Express and Wildcats, that weren't even on my list when I was thinking earlier. And I was like, oh, those are great movies. So, I mean, just stuff to remind all the football movies that were out. And Remember the Titans, almost every list was very high. And I actually was pretty shocked. Some of them had them down around 10. And I was like, gosh, there can't be 9 better football movies than this. There might not be 9 better movies than that. It's great. It's a great produced, written movie. Jerry Bruckheimer did it. I mean, anything he does is pretty much like gold, especially television. But one of my favorite scenes is when they wake up early and they get out, they're running or whatever it was. They didn't wake up early. It was late at night. And they make the journey all the way to where the Gettysburg fought the battle.
50,000 men died right here on this field, fighting the same fight that we're still fighting amongst ourselves.
Because this is a high school, if I remember correctly, that's somewhere in like the Virginia area, and because the guys are fighting throughout, being white and black is the big deal. Like there's 2 leaders of each side, and the 2 kind of groups of athletes are trying to stay in the same place, train 2 days, 3 days, and you can see who's led by each side. And obviously, again, spoiler alert, they become best friends, they become brothers. The accident happens, and you were mentioning your greatest, like one of your favorite lines, and I thought you were going to say this one, but it's when the nurse says, "Only families allowed in here."
Alice, are you blind? Don't you see the family resemblance?
And man, that's such a great line. But Denzel gives so many it's almost as if they really studied very good coaches, like Denzel, like even got the speeches down and how to inflect his voice. Like, it is the perfect sports movie for me. It's definitely deserves its place on the mountain. And yeah, it was easy to knock off all the other movies for this one. It wasn't easy for all the other three, but it was really easy for this one. So, yeah, our George is a Rushmore, right?
Rushmore number 2.
Rushmore number 2, in the same time, Remember the Titans.
Yeah, like you said, Remember the Titans for me, when I was that one was already ingrained on the mountain before there was any debate. So really, it was me coming up with 3 movies. There was no doubt.
Sunshine was already coming over the mountain.
Yeah, man. So many, and look, this is a meme that goes around on the internet. But all of the ladies, look, we got next week, we've got some Valentine's Day chick flick type movies we're going to talk about, just giving you a little bit of foreshadowing into that. But every lady loves Ryan Gosling, but let's not forget about how much of a liability he was at safety for the Titans. That dude almost single-handedly ruined their season because the dude couldn't cover anything. But no, it's a funny movie. It's got its funny moments in it like that. And yeah, so we love Remember the Titans, and we love football movies. So we're gonna go ahead and end it there, but we do want to say this. We want to let you know, just as I mentioned before, if you disagree with this, if you've got your own Rushmore, keep those comments going, and let's have some conversations online and talk about your Rushmore of football movies.
All right, Andy, we're ready for our last segment of the Rushmore show. Rushmore community, if you've been around, you will know this segment. It is Who's Your George? But look, we got a little spin on it this time. It's football. Our George of movies was Remember the Titans.
Yes.
And man, we can remember some Titans because a couple weeks ago, the Titans blew it against Joe Burrow and the Bengals. Yeah, and so the Titans are out, and they were highly figured to go maybe even to the Super Bowl this year. But I was thinking about a Titans team that went to the Super Bowl, one of the best Super Bowls I've ever seen, and they missed it by this much. Dyson leaning out. We're going to go through Super Bowl inspired Who's Your George, but we're going to call it Who's Your Eddie George. The star running back from the Titans of that year, Heisman Trophy winner, just an amazing guy, an amazing player. So who's your Eddie George? Now, these are going to be a lightning round, 1 minute. I have 15 questions that are related to football in some way, whether it's college, it's pros, maybe it's the just the party. So I got 15 questions for you. Let's see if you can knock them all out and break the record. Are you ready?
We can do this.
60 seconds on the clock. All right, Andy. And go. Georgia Super Bowl food.
Wings.
George of commercial.
Oh, Super Bowl commercial is going to be Betty White Snickers.
Who's the greatest QB?
Drew Brees.
Drew Brees. Running back.
Oh, gosh. Alvin Kamara. That's so wrong, but just go.
Wide receiver.
Jerry Rice.
What's your greatest Super Bowl memory?
Saints winning.
Oh, gosh. Uniform for pro, George.
Uniform for pro football is going to be the Saints. Man, I'm a homie. Go.
Oh, my God. Greatest moment not Saints winning the Super Bowl.
Greatest moment not Saints winning the Super Bowl. Lights going out in the Superdome. That was a good one.
Halftime show.
Halftime show would have been the Who because it was the Saints Super Bowl.
Uniform college.
Alabama.
Tradition.
Getting together. Getting together. Oh my gosh.
Dude, you got, I believe, if my number's correct,
like 6,
1,
7.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, maybe 11. Maybe 11. We'll have to go check the film. I think you got to 11. think you got to 11.
Well, I didn't
So
do too
here
well.
is who's your Eddie George? Way to go, Andy. You did a great job. I believe you got 11, maybe 10, but we'll go back and check the film, and we'll have to put it sparkly right here and let you know what we did.
Regardless, it's not my best effort, but hey, I left everything I could on the field. I left everything I could.
Blood, sweat, and tears.
I'm about to go cry.
All right, guys, it's been a great episode. Episode 6 of the Rushmore Show is down. Andy, can you believe we've already done 6 episodes?
I'm surprised that people are still inviting us into their homes right now for 6. No, it's been great. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I was also skeptical, but man, it's been awesome. I mean, we're seeing the comments, we're seeing people join in and be a part. And hey, guys, you can also comment on other people's Rushmores and tell them how awesome they are. It would be awesome to see the community just grow in that way. And as always, you can like, share, and subscribe. But if you subscribe, make sure you let us know. We'd love to just tell you hello and welcome to the family. And hey, next week, we have some guest speakers coming on. It's Valentine's. You could probably figure out who our guests are. But and we also got some guests lined up for some future episodes coming up towards Mardi Gras and all the amazing things that are happening in the world. So, but it's the end of the show. And so, Andy, how do we always end it, man?
This is the Rushmore Show, where it's all about your top 4 and nothing more.
more.
Peace.
See you guys next time.